everyone, this video is for you expecting mothers that want to breastfeed. I'm going to give you 9 tips on how to avoid nipple confusion. Yes, there is a such thing. As if you don't already have enough to worry about, now you have to work through avoiding nipple confusion. I remember when I first mentioned it to my mom, she thought I was completely crazy. She said, "What are you talking about? You new moms, you come up with all types of stuff." But it actually exists. I know it does. I believe in it. So I just want to give you 9 tips, things that we learned, how we avoided it, and I'll tell you a story about a friend of mine who really struggled with it. So number 1, avoid nipples with an easy flow. You have to select bottles that require the child to have a strong pull to get that milk out. It's very similar to the breast. You also want it to have a large base, so it also it gives the sensation of the breast. So we use these nipples for the first 4 months almost exclusively if he wasn't nursing, but majority of the time we were nursing during that time. So the nipples that we ended up going for were the Medela Calma, C-A-L-M-A, and the first year's breast flow. They were headache to clean, and I would definitely say we didn't like seeing our child having to work so hard, but in the end we knew it was going to be worth it. Second, bring the bottle to the hospital. Clean it, put it in a Ziploc bag, and put it in your hospital bag, because you never know if you're really going to have to use that nipple or not. 3, make sure it is in your birth plan that you want this nipple to be used if your child has to have a bottle during your stay there. And just going into birth plan, you also want to make sure you have 3 copies. So 1 you provide to, we had a midwife, but if you don't have a midwife, you have a doctor, and you can provide it to a doula too if that's your choice. Make sure that you review it with them. They're not really going to be a part of that process, but still it's on there. Review it with them. 2, make sure the nurses, your delivery nurses, have it. Go through it with them. Have your partner, the person supporting you through the birth, also review it with the nurses. And 3, the third one is to put it up somewhere in your hospital room, so if someone needs to look at it, it's just right there. You want to make sure everyone's on the same page and they know what you expect, because it's your child. You just gave birth to this child. You want to make sure your wishes are respected. You know, hospitals are, it's a big business, so they are used to operating a certain way, and that's how they keep everything flowing. But you know, you also want to make sure that you are looking out for your child and that your wishes are granted. So that takes me into 4. Pay very close attention to everything going on. You just gave birth, been through a lot. You still need to keep a very sharp eye. You and the person supporting you need to keep a very, very sharp eye on everything that's going on. There's going to be a lot of commotion, some recommendations possibly from the nurse, from the doctor, from whomever. So you want to make sure your wishes are just right there on your mind, so that you can give directions even in your post-birth state. 5, nurse directly after birth. We did skin to skin for it. I did it between 1.5 hours and 2 hours. My husband did for about 30 minutes or so. I was just so surprised that my son wiggled his way over to my breast and just started nursing. Do it directly after birth. I think we probably did it within 20 minutes of his delivery. We actually didn't even let the hospital clean our child for the first, or clean away or any of that for the first over 2 hours, just because we wanted to have that time with him. The other stuff could wait, how much he weighed and his head size and all of that. So going back to the story, he just wiggled his way over and just started nursing just naturally. He latched on and naturally started to nurse. Not sure if he was receiving anything, and needless to say, he started that bonding process. He started that learning process. So give your child that opportunity. I asked for a lactation consultant right away, but really ended up not seeing one for about 16 hours post-birth. received some help from nurses to get me through that 16-hour period, but I did end up seeing the lactation consultant later, who was able to help guide me and give me direction on how I could make sure the experience was pleasant for me, didn't hurt, and also provided the proper amount of nutrition for our newborn child. So 6, our story. We ended up we were in the hospital for 2 days, and we ended up having issues with belly ribbon, as I know, there are a lot of kids that do. So we had to go back to the NICU. It was not my preference. I would have preferred to wait and see if, just give it a little more time, see if there was some more natural things that we could have done at home. But we received a lot of pressure and went ahead and went into the NICU. We ended up being there. We didn't know what to expect. It ended up being 24 hours. Thank God I had that bottle in my bag. Because once we got there, they put him under lights, and I couldn't breastfeed him anymore. They gave me a pump and told me, I could pump and provide the milk, but I couldn't breastfeed. So they instantly took out a easy flow nipple in a bottle, and they filled up with formula and gave it to him. So I jumped up, pulled out my bottle, and provided that, and throughout the 24 hours that we were there, that's how my child fed. If I hadn't had the NICU experience, I wouldn't have needed the bottle in my hospital bag. But just in case you do, this is why you really need to have that bottle with you. So within that 24-hour period, they will probably give or take 12 feedings. So I'm not even sure if I would have been able to, if I didn't have our Medela nipple with us, I'm not sure if I would have been able to breastfeed after that 12-hour, after those 12 feeding sessions with the easy flow nipple. So thank goodness I did have it. I'll tell you a quick story. I have a friend who also practices attachment parenting, and she had the best intentions to breastfeed. Her child had to go to the NICU for 8 hours post-birth, and by the time he came back out, he was no longer interested in breastfeeding. Thankfully, she was able to pump for some time, but she wasn't able to get him back interested in breastfeeding. So of course that was that was very upsetting to her. And I just tell you these 2 stories just to give you that encouragement that you have to prepare for this, so that you hopefully don't have the same frustrations that I've had and as my friend had. 7. What am I at? 7. Breastfeed as much as you can. Once you go to work, I know it's much harder, but while you are still at home with your child, make sure you are breastfeeding as many times as you possibly can, especially at nighttime or when the child is going to sleep for a nap, so that they do have that opportunity to fall asleep with you. And if you are having to go back to work, or maybe you have more children and you can't breastfeed every 2 hours, every 3 hours once you get home, just try to make sure it's at least 50% of the day. So 8, moms, don't bottle feed. Make sure that child knows that if you are feeding, they are getting the breast, and that is the only option. So if they need to take a bottle, let your spouse, a neighbor, auntie, one of their siblings, whomever, feed the child, and so that you create less confusion. So here's the last one. This isn't something I practiced that I can remember, but I did read about it. Sometimes it's frustrating because the child is trying to pull to get the milk, but it takes time for the milk to come down. So what I read, they said that you should pump, possibly if your child is having frustration, they don't want to breastfeed because it takes so long, pump first and allow the milk to come down. Believe me, you can feel it. It's a tingling, burning sensation, FYI. Allow the milk to come down and then breastfeed. So as soon as the child latches on, the milk's just right there. So I really hope that these 9 tips were helpful to you and that you have awesome success breastfeeding. Thankfully, we were able to do it till about maybe 14 16 months. We're 16 months, so we did it. You can do it too. It's harder in the beginning, but it gets so much easier, and it's a great experience. And honestly, it's much easier than cleaning bottles and having to worry about going out the house and having the right amount of bottles and all these other kind of stuff. But you know what? That's all a totally different video. Until next time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos. Good luck!